I had to stop twice on the way just to cry. 7 hours on the road. My car heater didn't work right, and the defrost barely kept up with the sleet. But I kept driving, knuckles white on the wheel, trying to convince myself that maybe, this time, just maybe, they meant it when they invited me. An actual invitation. Printed, glossy, with my name spelled right for once. Anna Marie, you are cordially invited to the wedding of Lucas Carter and Evelyn Shaw. It had come in the mail 3 weeks ago. I stared at it for hours before I dared to believe it. Lucas was my younger brother 3 years apart, but it always felt like lifetimes. We'd built pillow forts as kids, shared cereal bowls when Mom forgot to make lunch, whispered about running away together when the yelling got too loud. But that was before Brielle came along. The golden one. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video? She wasn't blood, not technically. My parents took her in when she was 8 after her aunt died. But once she moved in, I disappeared. Not literally, just emotionally, quietly, like someone dimming a light switch on a bulb they always hated. So, when the wedding invitation came, I thought maybe Lucas remembered. Maybe he hadn't forgotten the girl who read Harry Potter to him in the dark when storms knocked the lights out. Maybe, despite the distance, despite Mom's twisted favoritism, I still mattered. I spent the night before the drive sewing the hem of my one decent dress, navy blue, with tiny white buttons down the front. It wasn't new, but it was clean. I packed Caleb's drawing in a plastic folder, a little picture he made of Uncle Lucas and Aunt Evelyn smiling. He said, "Give it to them for good luck." I left Caleb with Mrs. Patterson next door, kissed his forehead, and told him I'd be back before bedtime tomorrow. Then I drove. Snow was starting to fall when I arrived. The wedding was being held at a fancy vineyard lodge 2 towns outside the city, the kind of place with valet parking and glass walls, the kind of place that smelled like money. I pulled up slowly, hands trembling, and passed my keys to a man who didn't smile once. Inside, everything was soft gold and cream. The walls shimmered. The chairs were lined in perfect rows. I clutched my small purse tightly and moved toward the reception hall. A man in a black suit stopped me. "Name?" he asked. I cleared my throat. "Anna Carter, sister of the groom." He nodded and gestured me through the doors. That moment, that exact second, was the last time I felt like I belonged. The music inside was gentle, classical. Guests were chatting, sipping champagne. The head table stretched along the front like a throne. And there, standing in line to take photos, was Lucas. My heart clenched. He looked happy, genuinely happy, in a crisp navy suit, arm draped over Evelyn's shoulder. They were radiant, glowing. Her white dress had tiny flowers along the sleeves. I smiled and stayed back. I didn't want to interrupt. I just wanted to find my seat. I moved toward the 3rd row, saw a name card, reserved for family. I kept looking, each row marked the same. Then there it was, my name. Anna. But the card was bent, and the seat was gone. Literally removed, just a space between chairs. On either side, people shifted uncomfortably, trying not to make eye contact. I blinked, thought maybe it was a mistake. I turned, and there she was. My mother. In a silver dress, hair up, face pinched like always. Standing next to her, Brielle in a deep emerald gown, smirking like someone who'd just won a bet. "Your seat's missing," I said quietly. My mom didn't even look at me. She just took a slow sip of her drink and said, "That row's for family only." I blinked again, stunned. "I am family." She turned her eyes toward me finally and said without blinking, "Not for garbage." And Brielle smiled, wide, proud, like she was soaking it in. "Besides," she added, "you being here will just confuse people. We didn't tell them you'd be coming." I could feel the stares now, a few heads turning, people whispering. "Go sit in the back," my mom continued, voice like steel. "Or better yet, maybe go home. You've already been such a burden just showing up." I looked over at Lucas. He hadn't seen. He was still smiling for photos, hugging Evelyn's mother. And I just stood there, like a misplaced shadow. I clenched my jaw, fists tightening around Caleb's drawing in my bag. I looked at Brielle and she winked. Winked. Like this was a game. Like she'd known I'd drive 7 hours only to be humiliated. I turned slowly, walked toward the exit. No one stopped me. No one called my name. And as I stepped into the snow, I looked up at the sky and whispered to myself, I hope you enjoyed your moment, Brielle. Because I had just made a decision. I wasn't going back to that chair. I was coming back for the whole damn table. I didn't cry until I hit the highway. Not when they took my chair. Not when my mother called me garbage. Not even when Brielle winked like it was a game she'd already won. But the second I passed the first green freeway sign that said next exit 40 miles, the sob ripped out of me so hard I nearly drove off the road. I pulled into a gas station, leaned my head against the wheel, and screamed. Not words, not thoughts, just noise. It had been building for years, for birthdays missed, for holidays where I was told, stay home, Brielle's friends are here, for the time my dad told me, you take up space like smoke everywhere but never useful. And now this. I stared at Caleb's drawing and my purse wrinkled, bent from my hand, squeezing it too hard. 2 smiling stick figures holding hands, confetti over their heads. Uncle Lucas' wedding, written in crooked crayon letters at the top. I wanted to rip it in half. But I didn't. I folded it carefully, slipped it back into the folder, and pulled out my phone. I had one contact I hadn't messaged in over a year. Lucas. I hovered over the screen, my thumb shook. Then I typed. Did you know they didn't leave a seat for me? I stared at it, deleted it. Then wrote, good luck. Tell Evelyn I said congrats. He didn't respond, not then. And I didn't expect him to. I didn't go home, not yet. Instead, I checked into a cheap roadside motel. No TV remote. The lamp flickered when I plugged in my charger. I curled up on the hard bed, staring at the ceiling fan blades turning too slow, and let my mind burn through every insult, every slap of silence, every time Brielle accidentally spilled water on my homework or told friends I was the house help. They'd pushed me to the edge for years, and I kept trying to crawl back, beg for space. But this time, I was done crawling, and something unexpected happened the next day. Lucas called me. He left a voicemail. Anna, I didn't know. I swear, I didn't know they were going to do that. Mom told me you couldn't come. She said you were busy with work and didn't want to make the trip. God, Anna, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It took everything in me not to cry again. I texted him back 2 hours later. You don't have to be sorry. Just don't pretend you're surprised. You've known who they are. He replied, you're right, I did, and I let it slide, but maybe I don't have to anymore. I didn't reply to that, because something inside me had already started forming not just a feeling, a plan. And it started with the thing they cared most about. Image. Not money, not honesty, not even family. But how they looked. To the neighbors. To the in-laws. To their carefully cultivated little country club circle. They loved pretending we were perfect, that my mom was the dignified, silver-haired matriarch, that my dad was the self-made family man, that Brielle was the flawless Ivy League daughter. And me? I was the ghost, the cautionary tale, the one they quietly pretended didn't exist unless they needed pity points for raising a difficult child. But now I had something they didn't, the truth. And unlike them, I wasn't afraid of how it looked anymore. The next morning, I called someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years, Miss Dalton, my old high school English teacher. She used to let me stay after class when Brielle forgot to pick me up. She was the one who told me I had a voice worth listening to. She answered on the second ring. Anna? I took a breath. Do you still work with that community magazine? She hesitated. Yes. Why? I want to write something, I said. Something real. Something about growing up in a house where the only seat you're given is the one you're expected to be quiet in. There was a long pause. Then she said, You just let me know where to publish it. I hung up. The next week I started writing. I wrote every night after work, after Caleb fell asleep. I didn't name names. I didn't accuse. I just told the truth. About being erased. About growing up in a home where birthdays were ignored, bruises were blamed on clumsiness, and the word family was used like a leash. And then I did something no one expected. I didn't publish it online. I printed it, 100 copies, in gold-embossed envelopes. And I mailed them, not to the internet, to the guest list. Every single person who sat in that room. Every person who sipped champagne while my chair stayed empty. I didn't hear anything at first. No calls, no messages, no explosion. Just silence. And then, slowly like rust spreading across something that used to shine, the cracks started showing. The first person to text me wasn't my mother. It was Evelyn, Lucas's wife. The same one who'd been smiling in white silk while I stood there like a ghost. Her message was short. I had no idea. I am so sorry. Then, please check your mail. I thought she meant it figuratively, but 2 days later, a thick envelope arrived at my door. Inside were printed screenshots, text messages between Evelyn and my mom, between Evelyn and Brielle. One of them stood out like a slap. Mom, she's not invited. Don't worry. Anna's never had a place here anyway. She's more of a complication than a sister. Not someone we'd want around guests. Then Brielle's reply, if she shows up, we'll handle it. She's too desperate for attention to make a scene. I sat with those words for a long time. I could have thrown them away. But instead, I added them to the folder. Because the wedding guests were still reacting, and I didn't want this to fizzle out. I wanted it to boil. The article I'd printed, The Empty Chair at the Carter Wedding, a story of uninvited daughters, was written like fiction, but everyone who knew the family knew exactly who it was about. I never used their names. I didn't need to. It was in the eyes of the florist who canceled my mother's flower subscription. It was in the voice of the neighbor who said, we had no idea you were her daughter. I always thought you moved away on purpose. And it was in the silence when my dad showed up at the country club and found out his name had been removed from the newsletter. Family of the Year, no more. But the part that stung most came from within. Lucas came to visit me a week later, not alone, with Evelyn. They stood at my doorstep like people who'd just seen the inside of a burning house and realized they used to live there. Evelyn was holding something behind her back. Caleb made this, she said softly, kneeling down. It was his drawing, the same one from my purse, smoothed out, framed in cheap plastic. We found it in your mom's trash, she said, voice shaking. Still had grease stains on it. She never gave it to us. Lucas didn't say anything at first. His jaw was locked like someone holding back 20 years of guilt. Then finally he asked, can I show you something? I nodded. He pulled out his phone and showed me a photo of the family mantle at our parents' house. Empty. Every frame removed. All replaced with brand new pictures of Brielle at charity events. Brielle at conferences. Brielle holding a tiny Women of Leadership trophy. I stared at it. Then said flatly, fitting. Lucas nodded. Then handed me a letter. This was in Dad's drawer, he said, unopened. You wrote it to them. Years ago. I recognized the envelope immediately, the one I mailed after Caleb was born. It had a picture inside, his first steps. A drawing he made of Grandma's house even though he'd never been inside. They'd never opened it. Lucas swallowed hard. I think I knew. I just didn't want to admit it. I took the letter, didn't open it either, just set it aside. I don't want an apology, I said. Evelyn nodded. We didn't come to give one. We came to say we left. My eyes widened. We moved out, she continued. We left the apartment Dad helped pay for. Lucas resigned from the company your uncle set up, the one your parents controlled. Lucas spoke next. We're done pretending. I didn't protect you before, but I'm not going to keep letting them write the story. For the first time in years, I believed him. And the best part? I didn't need to do anything else. Because the truth had already done its job. the guest list stopped answering my mom's calls. The HOA removed her from their board, citing reputation concerns. Brielle lost her upcoming keynote speech at a women's conference after someone anonymously sent the printed story to the event director. The Carter family, once polished, shiny, perfect, was now known for something else. The empty chair. The one they never thought anyone would notice. But people did notice. People talked. Because while they were busy arranging centerpieces and champagne menus, the girl they called Garbage wrote the narrative, and now it would follow them like a shadow. Forever. I didn't throw it in their face. I didn't shout in their driveway. I didn't get revenge with flames or lawsuits. Just words. The same words they tried to silence. I went back to work, back to Caleb, back to the quiet life they always mocked. And sometimes, I drive past that vineyard. The seed is still gone. But I'm not. I'll never be gone again. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching.